It is without doubt an unusual posting. There are penguins on your doorstep, quite spectacular scenery, and of course the islands are rich in history. There are also icy gale force winds, freezing conditions, limited roads, and connectivity can be challenging to say the least. So why would anyone want to deploy here? I met with Commander of the British Forces, Commodore Darren Bone, to find out a little more about life in the South Atlantic.
People don't actually know what it's like here. It's easy to say, but we're that. Whereas the submarines are the silent service in the Royal Navy, perhaps the Falkland Islands is the silent posting. People, many of them, don't know what it's like. So I can well imagine a situation where people say, "Oh," when they're appointed or posted to the Falkland Islands. It's a challenging place. It can be snow, hail, sleet, rainbows, broad sunshine in just one day. The wildlife is extraordinary. You don't have to go searching for penguins. You sit on the beach and you're surrounded by penguins. And yet there are sheep in the same field, or killer whales, or whatever else. And at the same time, I think the responsibilities we can give junior people, junior NCOs, junior officers, and indeed those in command, unit command, are second to none. And that's what makes it delightful. You will tend to find that the people, when they come down here, if a corporal is deployed here, he will be doing things that a sergeant would be doing back in the UK. There is an opportunity to get hands-on. If he's in the RAF, he can go to sea and experience time in a ship, or he can go on the land with the army. Same with the other three services. And I think that's really important. We're investing heavily, financially heavily, into the infrastructure here because it's been 34 years, and infrastructure, buildings, systems have a life expectancy, and we're having to reinvest in that, which is why the Secretary of State has announced £180 million last year, and we're seeing the investment of that in power stations, in a new school, in part of the harbour, and indeed in accommodation elsewhere on the island.
Do you feel we have enough resources? Like we mentioned that you know there's actually money going into this part, but have you got enough to deal with what you need to do?
Look, there's always lots of debate about force levels and kits, military kit that we have down here, and there are arguments, I'm well aware of militarisation. I can say to you quite candidly that when I drove my first ship, Leeds Castle, we had some helicopters, some aeroplanes, some soldiers and a ship, and we've still got some helicopters, aeroplanes, soldiers and a ship. We just use them in a particularly focused way now to deliver the effect we need.
What is best about your job here?
Oh, it's the people, undoubtedly. If I said that my experience 20 years ago lit that light bulb inside me for joint opportunities, it's doing the same for them. It's a nurturing and mentoring role. And if I can encapsulate that, I go and visit the settlements, the islanders, a lot. And I went to have lunch with Anne and Peter Robertson down at Port Stephens, well out to the west, about 150 miles away. And over the kitchen table, invariably lamb, and delicious, she said, "I'm sorry, we had your soldiers here last week, but there was nothing for them to do and no one for them to see." And I said, no, you really don't understand. You know, that was Lance Corporal Maurice Cook of the Royal Anglians, and he was a Lance Corporal in charge of 9 people for 10 days on his own, 150 miles from base, tasked with looking after their needs, tasking them to go off operationally and navigate from here to there, to look after them in every way, and to manage them as a team. And he came back, and he was using words in the debrief to me of my playground, command, my men, all the words that I would use as a commander, albeit at a different level. And 5 days later, I promoted him corporal. And I'm sure that he's now looking at the command sergeant major post and thinking he can do it. And that's the power of the Falklands.